Recently, I watched the new Hulu Sci-Fi drama DEVS by Alex Garland, and it was so gripping I watched the whole thing in 2 days. And yet, after binging this compelling show, it's honestly very hard for me to say if it was good, nor did it leave much of a lasting impression. It's so close to being amazing, and yet ends up being forgettable. So close to being profound, and yet misses the mark and comes across as pretentious. So captivating, and yet so empty. This video will touch upon some spoilers of the show, so watch at your own discretion. The pilot of DEVS was, in a word, excellent. The somber soundtrack gave the show a grand religious tone combined with gorgeous cinematography and some incredibly creative filmmaking. I had nothing but praise for the series at this point, but little cracks in the very premise of the series started to show by episode 2. The technology of DEVS is ultimately a quantum supercomputer that is able to extrapolate the state and movement of every atom in the entire universe. And given this data, they are able to essentially wind time forwards and backwards with such accuracy that they are able to see an image of Christ on the cross from 2,000 years ago. At this point, they haven't clearly explained what DEVS is, but it was already strongly implied that this was what they were doing. Essentially, they've simulated the entire world as we know it, and can view it on a giant TV, even with sound. Now, the image is black and white and looks like something shot on a potato, so I guess I could kind of suspend my disbelief with that. But who the f was controlling the camera movement in this projection? I'm sorry, I simply cannot imagine a bunch of computer engineers on the brink of projecting back in time 2,000 years, not only selecting the sensor size and focal length of the shot, but also adding a dolly shot. Already better framing than your average student film. Forrest, aka vegetable-eating Ron Swanson, is in fact an incredibly damaged individual and has been feeling an immense amount of guilt for the death of his wife and daughter, to the point where he essentially started this entire project just to bring his daughter back to life. Poor wife is almost never given a second thought, not sure why that is. Along with his creepy assistant Katie, the two are progressively revealed to be almost devout towards this entire project, never testing the boundaries of this device, and instead choosing to essentially go along with it no matter the cost. The series seems to agree that the universe is a deterministic one, and that we don't really have free will. What will happen has already happened, and has always happened. Not quite dark level crazy, das Ende ist der Anfang, but certainly the same idea in that trying to change the future is futile. Forrest talks about how we fall into an illusion of free will because the tram lines are invisible, and that is an idea that makes sense if the universe is ultimately deterministic. Cross-dressing protege Lyndon is incredibly smart, so he decided to plug in an equation that allows for a multiverse into DEVS, and ta-da! We now have 4K playback and surround sound. Now using a 35mm through a door frame, with the daughter backlit and everything. Like seriously, the DEVS computer also knows good cinematography. As someone who actually shoots for a living, I can't. Did DEVS AI record this with a shotgun mic, lav mic? Where was the mic pointed? DEVS AI seems to shoot on Hollywood-grade cameras as well, even back in caveman times. Okay, so Forrest gets really mad that Lyndon did this and fires him, because it's not the Jesus and just one out of an infinite possibilities of Jesuses. Okay, I can understand that. Given his obsessive need to bring his daughter back, he needs to know that the one he brings back is actually his daughter, and not just some random version of his daughter. But, why is he and Katie so convinced that everything will play out exactly as DEVS prophesied then? If you accept that the multiverse exists and that there are infinite possible versions of the future, then you need to ultimately accept that what DEVS is showing you is only probable, and not the only way things can happen. The writers certainly spent a long time building towards this reveal, and even spent an entire episode featuring Katie explaining to our protagonist Lily what DEVS actually is, using a pen on a table. Yes, of course theoretically, if we can calculate every single particle and force enacted onto the pen, we can predict exactly where the pen will go. But even Lyndon mentioned that to measure all the particles of the universe, you would need a machine the size of the universe. Katie tells Lily that in 24 hours, Lily will arrive at DEVS and cause the whole thing to break down. Why? Because that's the finale and we only have 2 episodes to go, that's why. The cultish duo, Forrest and Katie, later become even more outlandish in their actions as they never once tried to test this ability of DEVS to see into the future. There's this scene where they set DEVS to look 5 seconds into the future, and it freaks out the employees as they mirror what is shown on screen 5 seconds prior. Why the hell would they do that? If you set it to 10 seconds, 20 seconds into the future? Surely that's enough time for anyone to see the DEVS prediction of what they would do in 20 seconds, and then choose to actively not do that. The very act of showing what will happen in the future already changes the future. And so for that to work, DEVS essentially has to calculate not only the universe, but also itself in an infinite loop paradox. It's lucky that the camera is pointed back at the employees and not at the screen, or else it will instantly overload and break down from trying to calculate what it will show in 5 seconds, in 5 seconds, in 5 seconds, in 5 seconds, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so forth. But you know, the guys working at DEVS are all crazy to some extent, as we can see from the way Katie convinced Lyndon to kill himself. Hey Lyndon, you wanna go perch yourself on the edge of the dam?
Why the f would I do that?
DEVS predicted that you'd do it, and it's a leap of faith.
Huh?
Because you believe the many worlds theory, and the ones where you survive, you get rehired into DEVS.
Oh damn, you're right. I'm gonna go balance myself on the edge in a way where a light gust of wind will push me over, and I'll only be conscious in the worlds where I don't fall, and
Dumbass. So after getting her ex-boyfriend shot, Lily somehow finds the whereabouts of DEVS headquarters because the plot requires it, and have a good sit down and chat with Forrest and creepy Katie, who killed her other ex-boyfriend. So apparently they already know exactly what will happen this night because God knows they've watched the prediction countless times, right down to what they will say. Lily says, "Show me," and so Forrest plays the DEVS prediction of what is going to happen. The prediction is not from a bird's eye view, but it's all nicely edited with face reveals, over-the-shoulder shots and everything. Lily sees that she will threaten Forrest, hold a gun to his head, shoot Forrest in the transport cabin, crack the glass, and the entire system will collapse. She's like, alright. And so she goes ahead and goes through exactly the dialogue she just saw, and throws the gun through the door instead. Forrest and Katie are shocked that she didn't follow the DEVS prediction. I mean, duh. Why the fuck would she? Personally, I would have shot Katie in the head first, but yeah, why would any sane human being, upon seeing an all-knowing machine predict exactly what you would do in the next 10 minutes, go along with it? I feel sorry for the DEVS AI really. By showing Lily that she shoots Forrest, she can choose to not shoot Forrest. By showing that Lily didn't shoot Forrest, she can now shoot Forrest. The mere act of showing someone what they would do changes what they will do. And so naturally, it is concluded that Lily broke the system because she was disobedient and exercised genuine free will.
She made a choice. She made an actual choice.
Excuse me? If choosing to do differently than what a machine predicted you would do counts as free will, then every sane person who isn't a brain-dead cult member has free will. And so they end up being reborn in the DEVS Matrix, living happily ever after. No, I'm not making this up, this really is how they decided to end the series. The plot in DEVS isn't technically time travel, but it runs into all the same problems that time travel stories run into. The problem of foreknowledge and time paradoxes. Time travel in fiction has always been one of those topics that is easy to leave you with a ton of plot holes if not done right. I find that it is most effective when they are used sparingly, and most importantly, out of the control of our characters. Back to the Future I don't mind because that's a comedy, but even time travel in Harry Potter becomes a problem, precisely because they can control it. After using it extensively in Book 3, the concept is seemingly forgotten completely. A possible way to keep the foreknowledge problem in DEVS under control could be that they could only take a sneak peek into the future, calculating 1 second worth of data from a set time, and that once shown, the reality may not play out exactly as the prediction anymore, since by predicting it, you are already changing the future. You know, instead of scrubbing through the entire lifespan of the universe like it's a YouTube video, no buffering or anything. Ultimately, the series just felt incredibly pretentious, and with its religious undertone, just trying desperately to come across as profound. It's so unfortunate that a series so well crafted just has to go down in flames like this in its final moments. This could have been a genuinely phenomenal series if the writers put a little more thought into the actual science of it and fixed these gaping holes of logic. Okay, that's it for today. If you like my content, please hit a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.